You guys remember this tactic. I tell you what, it is the most, purest indicator of success in Michigan football history. We started last year, coming off a 2-4 season in 2020. It's the old, just like the video, don't jinx it. Put out the good vibes, the good juju out in the world there. We know Michigan's going to beat UConn. That's clear, right? 47-point favorites. Michigan's on a roll, unstoppable offense. But how about we try this one? If you want Michigan to beat UConn and win the rest of their games, go undefeated this year. We'll just say the regular season, all right? Like the video, I don't know. It's like that thing when the team's losing in the first half, you switch spots on the couch or you change socks, and all of a sudden they come back and win. It's always the socks, that did it. It's always the spot on the couch. I know you guys have those kind of little quirks that you have, superstitions. This is my superstition, so help me out. Like the video. Let's beat UConn, win 9 more in a row to finish out 12-0 undefeated. Hell, Big Ten championship then, 13-0, go on to the college football playoff. Let's see what happens from there. You are watching the Michigan Football Report. I am your host, James Yoder. We are here on a Thursday, and Michigan is 2 days, less than 2 days, about 40 or so hours away from their third game of the season. JJ McCarthy's second game starting as Michigan's quarterback, as Jim Harbaugh says he is now the permanent quarterback going forward for this program. Later in the show, we are going to talk about Michigan's breakout superstar wide receiver. Was diving into the stats. Saw something on social media, then kind of dove into the stats. I'm like, holy cow, that's a pretty wild stat sheet right there. So I'll talk about the wide receivers there in a second. But right now, we are going to talk the JJ McCarthy hype train. You're on board. I'm on board. Seems like the sports books are on board with their Heisman odds. Seems like the entire country has been talking about JJ McCarthy anytime they mention Michigan football, the Big Ten, the Heisman. That first half performance is something unlike we have ever seen. I don't think, maybe not like the best quarterback play in history, but for a first-time starter, starting his first game after a 1-hour rain delay, to come out and drop 11 for 12 for 240 yards, 50 yards, 3 touchdowns, only one incompletion, and that was to Ronnie Bell, and it hit the ball right in his hands. There are some fans out there making some crazy decisions. Making some crazy things out on the internet. Check out this one I came across from late last night from myself. Okay, I'm going to admit I tweeted this out, no big deal, but I truly believe it. If you don't follow me on Twitter, didn't see this, I'm going to recite it for you today. There are a lot of college football fan bases that have experienced years of elite quarterback play, right? Michigan has not. Michigan has had intermediate quarter play, and they've had a year or two good here, several bad. Rich Rod, Hoke era, a lot of bad mixed in with a couple good games from Denard Robinson. You got to go back to Chad Henne, right? But he was 0-4 against Ohio State. And Michigan was a really good quarterback program from the mid-'80s to the mid-2000s when Henne kind of up to 2007 when Henne left. But it was never Heisman level quarterback play. It was never elite first-round draft pick, Mr. Everything like we are getting. So I said, for those fans, I'm sure it's tough to understand. If you're a fan of LSU, who just had Joe Burrow, Alabama, Ohio State the last 20 years, Oklahoma, Clemson, you won't understand this because Michigan fan is going to say this after one half of play. I think Jim Harbaugh, JJ McCarthy, I believe it's 110%. Is going to be Michigan's best ever quarterback by the time he is done this season, likely next season, and after 3 years, 2023 season next year, he'll be off to the NFL. I 110% believe this by a big margin. Could he be Michigan's GOAT? Could he be the best player? Maybe let's just start with quarterback. The best quarterback in Michigan football history. I don't think it's crazy to say because I have seen players like Shane Morris and Devin Gardner, 5-star level recruits come into Michigan. Shea Patterson, right? I love Shea. He was a really good quarterback, but he was never a Heisman contender after the season got started. He was never a national championship level quarterback at Michigan. I think he was a very good quarterback. And prior to that, right, prior to Rich Rod, Michigan never featured their quarterback like offenses do today in college football. So he has the talent JJ does. I do think he has the running backs, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, the wide receivers, especially one we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But will Jim Harbaugh give him enough snaps, right, not bench him too early in these blowouts, or will they put the offensive system in place? Will they let him air it out 35 times a game when needed to put up the stats that you will need for a Heisman Trophy campaign, for GOAT, best all-time player from a quarterback position, or if he wins the Heisman Trophy quarterback, maybe some people could say JJ McCarthy, the best player in program history. I don't want to jump too far ahead. I'll ask you guys this question. Now keep talking about JJ McCarthy and what I think this program can accomplish with him behind center before we jump into a little about the wide receiver group. I would ask you this question. How many touchdowns will JJ McCarthy throw for this season? If you didn't know, Michigan is one of the most paltry touchdown records in all of college football, right? 25 touchdowns, set in 1991 or 92, whatever one it was, from Elvis Grbac. And then Chad Henne set it as a true freshman in 2004. Even the years of Shea Patterson throwing a little bit more and having some really good wide receivers, he only threw for like 21, 23 touchdowns in his 2 years as a starter. So he will need, JG will need 22 more touchdowns to tie it. 10 games guaranteed in the schedule. Obviously, we all think Michigan will make a bowl game. So we'll have to have 2.2 touchdowns per game going forward. It doesn't sound crazy, right? It doesn't sound crazy. Here is my predicted stats for JJ McCarthy in the first half only, because I only think he's going to play through the first half against UConn. I expect Michigan to be up right around what they were against Hawaii. Maybe not 42-0, but I think I said 38-3 on yesterday's show. I love his accuracy. Deep ball accuracy. He threw that one, Patrick. Did you see that one pass he said where he did like the read option, and then he turned his body this way and hit the tight end who had to look back and catch it? It looked like a rudimentary pass, but I said in the stadium that night, I said, that is a damn hard pass to make, going against your body like this and hitting not throwing a wide receiver just standing there. A guy turning his body back and forth too, like Eric All was. Very accurate. Only drop so far this season is a drop by Ronnie Bell where the ball was maybe a half foot behind him and hit him in the hands and he dropped it. So 13-15 of my predicted stats, 270 and 3 touchdowns. No interceptions with JJ McCarthy, because I think he's going to put together one of those seasons like you see from other schools where he's got 35 touchdowns and like 3 interceptions all season, some crazy 10-1 ratio like that. Folks, I am all in on JJ McCarthy. And I better be all in, because I just put a big chunk of change on him to win the Heisman. And why did I do that? Because I checked the odds again today. I told you a couple days ago, one of the biggest sports books out there in the United States had him as the 5th highest Heisman odds come Monday at 30-1, right? Behind C.J. Stroud, behind Caleb Williams, and who am I missing here? C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, the Alabama quarterback, and who else? Bryce Young, that's right. And so he is 5th best odds. And BetUS had him as like a 5,000-1 or 50-1 odds a few days ago. I was waiting for BetUS to update. They changed them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they went too far. So it was only 28-1, so it was better chance than the major sportsbook partner that I told you about, or sportsbook that I told you about a couple days ago. So I put $250 on it, right? No cap, no BS. Put the money on there. 28-1 odds. I win $7,000. December 10th, Heisman Trophy ceremony. If JJ McCarthy wins it, your boy Yoder is going to be bad. How about make you this, Patrick? Since you produced this show, asked Jeremy about it last year. I said, Jeremy, Michigan beats Ohio State this year. He was my producer on game day going on the stretch. I said, we're going to Vegas. JJ wins the Heisman. Me and you are going to Vegas that night. Guaranteed. And let me tell you, go ask Jeremy about the time we had one for the record books. I'm going to need all $7,000 of those dollars to be able to pay for a trip like we would have that night. Believe me, they won't be dollar bills. Those will be $20 bills will be thrown around after we win that $7,000. So I bet that at BetUS, our sportsbook partner. My own money, but I encourage you guys to go get started with BetUS as well. Go ahead and toss it on the screen there, Patrick. BetUS, the preferred sportsbook partner of the Michigan Football Report. Go get your 125% deposit bonus. You saw I bet $250. If I deposited $250, I get 125% deposit bonus on that. So I have quick math, I don't know, like $375, something like that in deposit money. Go use BetUS. Bet on things like the Michigan game this weekend, Michigan versus Colorado State, Michigan versus UConn, Michigan, Hawaii. You can make money on all those things, and you can do prop bets like will Michigan win the Big Ten? Will they win this game, of course, against UConn? JJ McCarthy win the Heisman? Will they beat Ohio State? All kinds of prop bets you can make in future bets that are super fun. Put $5 on, put $10 on one, but make sure you use BetUS. Michigan is favored by 47.5 points, folks. Over/under is 60. I don't know what I'm going to take. I think I might just take the over in this one because I bet Michigan scores about 50 points, 55 points themselves. And if anything turns out, they'll have the 5th-string defense in there in the fourth quarter. UConn puts up anywhere from 7 to 14 points, and it'll end up being like it was for Hawaii, about 65 or so total points. I'm going to bet the over on that 60. Let me know what you guys are doing. Let me know if you're betting this game. Go down in the comments, but make sure you do it with BetUS. You see it at the bottom of the screen, chatsports.com/GoBlue. Use that link and the promo code, as always, GoBlue. Look, for a team to win a national title, right now in this era of college football, it is pretty damn clear to me that outside of Georgia last year, which maybe was an anomaly, maybe not, They had 5 first-rounders in their defense. Has never happened in the history of the NFL for one team to have 5 first-round draft picks on one side of the ball, which Georgia defense did this past year. So that was an anomaly. Other than that, you've got Tua. You have got, who am I missing here? Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, generational quarterbacks like this, Joe Burrow. That is what you need to win a national championship. We all saw Michigan last year, the best team in 20 years plus, right? Won the Big Ten, beat Ohio State, made the college football playoff. And it still wasn't even enough to be competitive against Georgia. You're going to have to, if you're not going to have 25 5-stars or something like Georgia, Alabama has, you're going to be able to outman them at the quarterback position. And I think that's what Michigan has with JJ McCarthy. So that's why I think this is a 2-year window that Jim Harbaugh may never get again, where he has all the personnel in place on defense, offense, running back, wide receiver, best offensive line in college football, and the quarterback for a 2-year run that Michigan needs to get to a national championship game, and hell, perhaps win one for Jim Harbaugh. Take a look at these stats, though. Right? JJ McCarthy, in 2 games, he had 11 snaps against Colorado State, and then he had 27 snaps against Hawaii, right? Has thrown 16 passes this year, and I believe has 5 runs. I may be off of that, maybe 5 or 6 runs total for the year. I'll look that up in a second, though. But these stats are crazy. 16.2 yards per attempt, right? Not per completion, per attempt. Now, that's clearly helped because he only had 1 incompletion, so only 1 of his passes goes against the denominator, I guess, in this scenario, and then is averaging 16.5 yards per carry. So on his 38 snaps, if he doesn't hand the ball off, right? So you take those plays out. If JJ keeps the ball in his hand, either throws it or runs it, even if it's incompletion, he is averaging over 16 yards per play. That is over double the number 2 quarterback in college football right now. He clearly won't keep that up, folks. That's one of the better starts I have seen in a long time. It's one of those stats I remember it was probably 6 or 7 years ago. Jameis Winston, through 3 or 4 games, had 9 touchdowns, 8 incompletions or something like that. That is what JJ McCarthy has a chance here to do. 4 touchdowns this year, 3 passing, 1 rushing, only 1 incompletion, 16 yards per play when he doesn't hand the ball, so per snap when he doesn't hand the ball off to another player. That is absolutely crazy. Quick question for you guys. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? I want to know, before today's video, right? We all encourage all you guys to subscribe if you're watching for the first time or have yet to sub. But I want to give some shout outs to the longtime subscriber club. So go ahead and type Y if yes. If not, type N. Be honest. Honesty wins. And then, of course, go ahead and subscribe. But if you have subbed, type yes. And if you remember when, I subbed in 2021, 2020. This is our 3rd year here on YouTube. I guess 4th season, right? 2019, 20, 21, and then now we're going, we're kind of 2 games into our 4th season. So let me know Y or N, youtube.com/Michigan TV. Send a link to your friends if they love Michigan football and want to ride this JJ McCarthy hype train. How about the play of Roman Wilson, right? He wasn't in the game much, right? 10 or 12 snaps I saw was all he ended up playing on Saturday versus hometown school Hawaii. But then I saw something Michigan put on Instagram, looked into it myself, kind of took a gander. I'm like, oh, wow. He hasn't played a ton of snaps. He's starting, but they're pulling him out, giving some other guys some reps, right? He's clearly, I think, their number 1 playmaker right now, although Ronnie Bell has more catches. But toss this up on screen here. He has touched the ball 4 times this year. 3 of them have gone for touchdowns, right? And 1 was a little catch against Hawaii. He had that first touchdown against Colorado State, right? It was more of a, probably should be counted as a run, but it was like a wide receiver screen. He stepped back, kind of skirted up the sideline, cut back, scored a touchdown, 61 yards. His next catch was early on against, his next catch was actually that 42-yarder. I put these out of order. And then a 4-yard catch against Hawaii. Then a 21-yard touchdown run. 4 touches so far this year for Roman Wilson. 3 catches, 1 run. 3 of them for touchdowns. He's averaging 32 yards every time he touches the ball, folks. That's insane, right? Clearly, just like JJ McCarthy, these are not stats that we expect to keep up. But I did think they were worth pointing out what kind of connection these guys have made, right? One of those plays, at least, was with Cade McNamara for Roman Wilson. But Roman Wilson was J.J. McCarthy's first guy to go to on the touchdown in the first quarter, the long touchdown pass, second play of the game. And then remember, Michigan gets the ball down there, possession or 2 later, Roman Wilson. Go back and watch that film. If you haven't yet, go find the highlights because I thought it was emblematic of J.J. McCarthy's confidence and maybe his trust in Roman Wilson. His 4th or 5th, maybe 3rd or 4th drive as a starting quarterback, he faked the handoff, turned around, back is to the line of scrimmage, right? Defenders could be going down and crushing him. He didn't hand the ball off to Roman Wilson. He didn't pitch it where Roman get him. It was the most nonchalant, I'm the coolest guy in the world, I trust this guy. He literally just goes like this. He turns his back, right, back to the thing, and it's goes like this. right? And Roman Wilson flies by and catches it. It was just the most nonchalant, like, hey, man, toss me that ball. Right? Just one of those. I thought it was super cool and shows the trust that these guys have so far as a quarterback wide receiver duo. Roman Wilson off to a hell of a start. If he can keep it up, folks, right? That is a wild bunch of numbers. That could be all conference numbers, hell, even all American if he can keep scoring. He's got 3 touchdowns through 2 games. Keeps up that pace. Clearly, he will be an all American level player. Don't expect him to, but maybe it regresses a little bit. He ends up being an all Big Ten first team, second team wide receiver. He can come back next year, but he's been at Michigan for a little while. Maybe he'll want to jump to the NFL. Big time start for Roman Wilson. Got it done. 2 touchdowns against his hometown team, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, fighting Rainbow Warriors, whatever they call themselves now. So shout out to Roman Wilson. But coming up on Saturday, less than 2 days away, I want to know who you think will have the most receiving yards for Michigan. My expectation, it'll be one of the 4 big wide receivers. I didn't put AJ Henne in here because we just haven't seen really much of him catching the ball this year. Mostly special teams, punt returner, and such. Who will have the most receiving yards on Saturday versus UConn? If it's Ronnie Bell, type RB, Andrew Anthony, AA, Cornelius Johnson, CJ, or Roman Wilson, the guy we just mentioned who's off to the hell of a hot start with 3 touchdowns on 4 touches this year, type in RW. Let me know down in the comments. I am going to go with Roman Wilson, okay? I think that Michigan will continue to get him involved, go downfield a few times. Him and JJ McCarthy will keep that connection. I'm going to say 85 yards receiving in the first half for Roman Wilson. Then they'll kind of bench all those guys, put in all the freshmen with the second and third team. So that is my take on JJ McCarthy hype train, Roman Wilson. I have got some hot rumors for you, though, coming up on Friday. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We'll be back with another video on Friday. Hell, I might even put one out Saturday morning like 6 a.m. We'll see if we have enough time to film. Until I see you, though, next time, folks, go blue.